It's time to paint. This is totally working. Oh, this is so cool. This was the easiest ceiling I've ever painted. Hey, it's Mads and welcome back to my channel. Hi, how are you guys? We are here and my friends, business. I cannot tell you how excited I am to use this thing. But first, we've spent the last couple of weeks really preparing for this moment, to getting paint up on the walls. We've prepped this room meticulously. We designed this room in our brains meticulously. We have done all the prep work. It's time to paint. Let me introduce you to our new friend for this week's project. We are finally putting paint up in this bedroom and I'm so excited. And to give us a helping hand, I went and got myself a new baby. She's my new best friend. We have to name her. This is a paint spray gun and this is from King Canada and this is their Performance Plus line, and I got the one with the 1,000 milliliter jug, and I was actually able to pick this up at my local small business hardware store. They were having a sale, so I ended up paying $88 for her, and they're regular like $100. So we can knock $88 out of the budget pool, but she's really gonna come in handy, and we can use her for a million projects. And I'm so excited to see what she can do. First thing we're gonna tackle are these popcorn ceilings. Okay, I'm ready for school. I've got my protection on for my hair. My hair is dirty, it needs to be washed anyway. I've got a face mask on just so I don't breathe in any paint. And I should wear eyeglasses. I couldn't find mine, so I just put a hat on. Hopefully that will protect me a little bit. And I did also, when I took down the light that was here that we're replacing, I shoved a plastic bag up in there to protect the cords. Now we can spray. I've never done this before, so I think this is gonna be a learning curve for sure. We're just gonna give it a shot. I can't hold it like this. I gotta kind of hold it at an angle and do it that way. So I've got everything protected, everything ready to go. Here goes nothing. This should make this job so much easier and make it so that I have to spend a quarter of the amount of time I would if I was rolling this popcorn ceiling, plus be way less messy. I know that seems crazy because it's gonna get paint everywhere, but working top down, it's gonna be great. And the ceiling and the walls are gonna be the same color. So if I get some overspray on the walls, I'm not gonna be too upset about it. Plus the trim is darker, so I think we're gonna be okay. Okay, it's working. I don't know if you can see it. This is totally working. Oh, this is so cool. I'm into this. I'm very, very into this. I think it's gonna take me a second to get a hang of it. You can kind of see I was practicing on the wall there. Gonna make life so easy, and I'm gonna be able to paint the whole ceiling like this. My plan is to do all of the ceiling in one direction and then do the second coat in the other. And then if I have to go back and do a third, I will. I don't foresee that though, because this is actually going on really well. I hope it doesn't dry down that yellow. I hope it darkens up a bit and isn't that yellow. That's kind of scaring me, but we'll see. So I'm just gonna start zipping through this and getting this whole ceiling painted, because once the ceiling is done, we can start working on the walls. I'm super tempted to spray the walls, but I think I'm just gonna spray the ceilings purely for the fact of covering things up. I can't really spray onto the closet doors and stuff because I'm not gonna be taking them off, so I have to roll those anyway, but we'll see. I'm down from the first coat. It's taking me about 35 minutes to do this half of the room. I would say a good 10 of those were just me trying to figure out how the thing worked. So this definitely went way faster than rolling it would. And I'm pretty happy with the coverage I'm getting. It is gonna need a second coat for sure. I would say if you are gonna do this on popcorn ceiling, kind of go all in one direction and then go back the other way and call that one coat. And then when you go to do the next coat, do the opposite to the other. I'll make a box here. Your first coat, you go all the way this way. And then for that same coat, start at the opposite end of the room and go all the way the other way. Call that a coat. And then go to this side of the room and go this way. And then go this way. That way you're kind of getting it all. And then you can go in at different angles and make sure you're getting coverage. And I'm kind of just doing this this a lot and looking up and trying to see if I see any white speck, going over here and doing that again and going, okay, there's a little bit of white here, so this way, so I need to get my gun up there and spray it, and just kind of like checking your work. I think that's what takes the longest, is like the up and down from the ladder. But other than that, this was the easiest ceiling I've ever painted. My back does not hurt. My gun was totally okay. Just to reiterate, you cannot hold it 90 degrees up. You kind of have to hold it at like not even a 45 and like spray out with the cone feature. That's what I found works the best for the popcorn ceiling. But really guys, like, it's made a big difference. I did get a bunch on the walls as the roof. It's just a different sheen, so I'm not worried about it. It's just my color is gonna go right over it. All right, friends, it is time that we start moving on to rolling. The ceiling is looking great, and I just need to get these rollers on the wall. I would spray it, but my worry really is that my clothes are still in this closet, and I don't really have a good way to seal it. So I am gonna roll the walls. It's gonna take me a little bit longer, and it might be a little less smooth, but pretty proficient with one of these. I've done this a million times, so I'm pretty excited. If you have never painted a wall before, or you're looking for some tips and tricks, really it just comes down to making sure your brush or your roller is fully loaded and you have as much product and as much paint on that roller as you can, and going back frequently and not letting it dry out in between rolls, and working in like a WN formation and going fairly quickly. You don't want to be pulling up dry paint while you're going, and that's really what it boils down to. And practice. Your first time is not going to be great. I'm sorry to say, it's going to take some practice, and don't be afraid of that. And so don't worry if it's not perfect the first time you do it. It is just paint. Do it again. Sometimes things just take practice, and painting is just like anything else. It's a skill that you have to develop over time. So don't be too hard on yourself and just do your very best. I have the benefit in this space that I am color drenching. So I am not really even worrying about cutting into the trim or anything like that, because we're gonna go in with the darker trim after. You always wanna work top down, lightest to darkest. So the trim is gonna be what happens after. Clean up any mess that I make on any of the trim with the darker paint of the trim later. So I'm not super worried about that. And we can just roll our little hearts out and get the first coat on these walls.
You feel like summer days to me, warm tender sunny rays. I hope that we
I forgot to take off the thing here. Oh my goodness. Oh. Okay, that's off.
to be. You say nothing at all when we meet, yet somehow this romance I get the chance to stop the run and be the lucky one.
All right, day 2, and I am so like vibing with this color. It is so comfy and cozy, and I feel like it's just a soft hug wrapping me up. This color is looking beautiful. I did check out the footage from earlier. I do know it looks really yellow. My light was set on the warm setting. I'm sorry, it just came out really yellow. It is not. This is very true to color, and I do have my trim up. The first coat essentially on all of my trim is done. The first coat on the door is done. And I did make the executive decision last night to paint the baseboards the wall color, only because they're kind of insignificant. Like, they're small baseboards. I felt like if I did them dark, they would just look dinky. Like, it just didn't make sense, so I wanted to kind of hide them and kind of elevate the room and color drench them. So I made that decision. I don't love it, I don't hate it. So until we get bigger baseboards or more substantial baseboards in here, they'll stay like this. But we are finally at a place where we can go over brush lines and how to do your trim or edge lining and getting it perfect and crisp and clean every time. I've got a couple of methods to go over with you guys. The first method is using frog tape or painter's tape. This is just like a green painter's tape you get at the hardware store. Pretty inexpensive, and it's really easy to use. The first step in this process is to lay your tape down in a straight line, and I implore you to take your time doing this and adjust it and make it right. I like to roll out a long piece and then work in small sections to make sure it's lined up nicely. Once your tape is up and you're happy with it, you're gonna put on a light coat of the wall color or the opposite color than the one you're using. This makes sure that if there is any bleed through on the paint or you do have like a little uneven edge, the wall color paint is there and that is gonna sit under it so that you get a clean, crisp line once you go over it with your other color. If you're going in for a second coat of your dark paint, go ahead and do that. And while that coat is still wet, you want to slowly peel off the painter's tape and it will reveal a crisp, clean, sharp line. Other than doing the frog tape method, I find this method with a brush the easiest. Now, it is tricky to learn and take some practice, and I totally recommend doing this in like low stakes scenarios and just practicing on a spot on your wall where you can sand it and then just paint over it and get better at it over time and really put some practice into it. And for the girly pops out there, us very femme girls, it's like painting your nails. That's the best way I can explain it, is it's like flooding your cuticle area when you want to get your nail polish or your gel polish right to the edge. So if you can do your nails with a crisp cuticle, you can do this, I promise. Like the best piece of advice I can give you, just like painting your nails like this, is to make sure your brush is properly loaded and you've got lots of paint on it. Just like you would nail polish, you want to full brush. So I really work the paint into the bristles and load it really well. And you could totally do this in a tray. I'm just being so lazy and working out of the pot, which is dangerous. Don't do that. Do as I say, not as I do. This is what you're after, is like this level of fullness in your brush. So right along this edge here is where I'm doing this. This is metal and this is my sill. So I can't really paint on top of this to do the painter's tape method. So I'm kind of stuck doing the nail polish method. That's what we're gonna call it, the cuticle method. I'm sure it has some technical name. The first step you're gonna do with your loaded brush is press it into the sill or the wall, whatever you're working on, and get the paint right there. And just like when you're painting your nails, you're gonna push a little pool of paint to the edge while putting pressure on your brush, fanning out the edges. You're gonna push it right up to the edge and you're just gonna drag, just like you would when you're painting your cuticles. I've got kind of an exaggerated amount of paint here so that you guys can really see it on camera. Don't use this much, I've kind of put a dollop there for you. You can really see the pool at the edge of my brush there, and I'm pulling. And that's what's doing all the work for me. And this method is my personal favorite. I really think it gets the job done, especially when you get into a rhythm with it. And the other thing I gotta tell ya is like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Coming from one perfectionist to another, if it's not 100% perfect, you're okay. It's gonna be okay. Everything will be okay. The world isn't gonna fall apart. It's gonna be okay. Do your best. And if you've done your best, that's all you can ask of yourself, you know? At least that's what I tell myself. Sometimes even perfectionists aren't perfect. Even professionals aren't perfect sometimes. There's been lots of things I found over the years where I'm like, oh, a professional did that? Wow. And it's just everybody has bad days. Some people don't have steady hands. I can't sing, so I can't do that. Oh, this is so satisfying. And then the last thing I like to do when I've done this is take my brush that's pretty dry now and kind of feather out that edge so that it looks even on the sill or the wall or whatever that you're working on. And now I've got a nice crisp line and a painted ledge and it looks beautiful.
Feet up on the dash and the calling open road. Road trip classics on the radio. With your hand tied in mine, there's no such thing as time.
All right, you guys, we are done. I'm going to put some clips of what this all looks like once all the paint is dry. Sorry, I'm spent painting, but it wipes me out. I'm exhausted, but I'm so pleased with how everything has turned out here. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this week. That paint sprayer is definitely worth it. I am going to be putting my Amazon links down below. Those are affiliate links, like I do get money from those, but don't use them if you don't feel comfortable shopping from Amazon right now. I'm not ordering anything from Amazon right now, but that's the only link service that I have access to currently to like give you guys exact products and things that I use. So I'll link them there, But please, I implore you to go to your local hardware store, your local tool supply, and get your stuff there and support local when and where you can. I will see you guys next week. We are tackling the windows. I have some great ideas to get these windows delicious. So I'll see you guys next week for more window fun. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you next week. Bye.